welcome to another episode on the Good Thoughts Advocate podcast. I am your host, the Rich Scriber. Today, the issue at hand was a prompt from a friend of mine, but it has been a thought I have held closer to my heart for quite a long time. But today, I feel it is high time we bring this thing to light. So, a few days back, a friend of mine asked what do I think if the affairs of a nation is being left in the hands of teenagers? What would the nation itself look like? Well, as unexpected or as trivial as that question might be, it propelled me into a series of thoughts. So, actions, we all had a whole lot of opinions, people seemingly projecting the idea of the nation not being good due to high level of moral decadence and then another level of social delinquency that we see nowadays. Truth be told, all those are valid points. But if you, just like me, feel there is a way out, then this episode is actually for you. And I welcome you this morning to join me on this ride as we explore what are the benefits of a teenager, both as a teenager and parents to teenagers. Because on one side is the teenager itself, on the other side is or are the parents or guardians to the said teenagers. Both have a role to play in the life of the said teenager. So, as one who has been invested in the lives of teenagers for a while, I will tell you this for a fact. And also looking at stats, data from people's life, I will tell you this for a fact. There is no better time to answer the question of who I am. What do I want out of this life? If these two questions are answered early in life, I am telling you, the possibilities are just wild. Let's take a look at people who are doing great things in different aspects, in different places, different departments in this world today. One notable thing we would observe is they all started out early. They had an early head start. Now, people from my own side of the world, we're all trying to play catch up nowadays. The fault isn't because we were brought up wrong, no. But then, certain priorities were misplaced. A common trend is African parents tend to be strict. Yes, you stop us from doing certain things. Yes, we shouldn't go out. Yes, we shouldn't engage in this. Yes, but those free times that we stay back at home, how well did they help us utilize it? Because now they just let us waltz through life, and now we're trying to figure out exactly who we are and what do we want out of this life. So we're trying to play catch up with our counterparts who have answered this and have already figured out their purpose already. Scientifically, the brain development starts from the age of 0 to about 25 is where the prefrontal cortex, the part where critical thinking is being emphasized on, develops between 23 to 25. I personally feel anybody below the age of 25 hasn't fully tapped into his or her prefrontal cortex, and as such, they are always overwhelmed by their feelings. Their emotions are high. They are always on the edge because they feel more. They tend to express more, and that is the fuel. You as a guardian, you as a parent, you need to use that fuel to help the said teenager propel them to greatness. If you are able to help us figure this thing out early, you've set us on a path to greater things. When my friend asked that question, I had to visit some dear children of mine, and we needed to have this conversation. Yes, they might feel they are children, and no doubt they are. But would they remain as children? If your guess is as good as mine, the answer is completely no. I emphasize the need for them to start emulating, adopting, developing the habits, the characteristics, the virtues they would want to see them when they grow up. The things they want to display needs to be sown now. They need to start developing it now. Yes, they are children, no doubt. I'm not trying to take out their childhood from them, but no. There should be time for all these things. If they are able to handle procrastination early, they are able to be disciplined. They are able to build consistency. Tell me, what else do you think that when they grow up to be adults, what would stare them in the face and would make them scared? Most of us now, we can't pursue the dreams we had. We can't chase down the interest we had. Why? A whole lot of thoughts are in our heads. We are considering a whole lot of things. We have families to consider. We have friends. We have time is not even on our side. We're thinking of getting married, children. A whole lot of responsibilities are already circumventing around our heads. The thought alone is draining, and that wouldn't even give us ample time to pursue some of the desires we had while growing up. The child in us wanted, but the adult in us cannot afford to waste precious time. If only our parents helped us figure these things out early. If only. Well, they say once opportunity comes, you can no longer prepare. You fall down to the standards of your training. They did as best as they could according to the level of knowledge disposed to them. That is why in this dispensation, it is of greater importance that you as a parent, you develop yourself. Every aspect of you needs to be sound so that you can help your teenagers develop soundly as well. Now their emotions are already high. They think they know the best. They think whatever decision they have is the best. They feel they are always right. Truth be told, we all went through that same feeling, so it's not a bad thing. But it is good that we are there to counsel them. At birth, we are giving birth with a whole lot of potentials, with the possibility of greatness, but only a few are able to tap into that set potentials. I told my kids, residing in them are potentials, but they need to tap into it first. Woe unto you, woe unto me, if we die and the world doesn't experience an aspect of us because we fail to develop them. Woe unto us. As parents, it falls down to us to help our kids develop every aspect of themselves. If only African parents can take up the challenge. If only African parents can take up the challenge. My mother stopped me from going out. I barely had playtime, but all those times, I would have had a music teacher at home. They should mind my thinking pattern. I should have engaged in a sport activity, swimming, running, whatever athletic activity that could help build me so that I could find my place in this world. But no, all I had to do was stay back at home, do chores, take my siesta, eat, and that's that. The next day, the cycle continues. But in this era, we cannot afford to make that same mistake. The world is changing. Times are changing. So also do we need to evolve with the time. The moment we fail to reinvent ourselves, we'll lose our purpose, we'll lose our value. So yes, the place of teenagers right now in this era looks very bleak, it is already disheartening. To find one is through and worthy of a cause, you need to sort through the debris for a very long time. But then, for the sake of those whom we see and they give us this glimmer of hope, we need to reinvent ourselves to help them find their place early. Talk of the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Serena Williams. All these people started in their sportsmanship early. Talk of the likes of Picasso, Van Gogh. They all started very early, and that allowed them to have an imprint during their stay in this world. Abraham Lincoln himself started at the age of 21. That is early. You need to help us as teenagers figure out who we are and what we want out of this life early. You need to help us. If you are listening right now with me and there is a teenager closer to you, it is important that you help them say this mantra: I've got the powers. I am about to release my powers. You as an older person, you are duty bound to help us tap into all these potentials and help us release them so the world experience every aspect of us. Every aspect of us. Every bit of us. By age 15, the brain is already doing away with synapses that aren't developed, thinking this particular human being doesn't want it. So, it is high time we take up the challenge to help these younger minds figure out who they are and what they want out of this life. The older versions of us are already playing catch up, trying to figure out who we are. There's a saying that the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. While we are trying to plant our trees right now, it is of greater importance that we help the minds come on behind us to also plant their trees now. A big shout out to those who are bearing the torch and leading young minds, helping them change narratives and break barriers. It takes a great deal of effort, and we are out here and we appreciate you. And for those who will be taking up the challenge to help young minds develop themselves to answer the question of who they are and what they want out of this life, our earnest heart desires are with you. Our prayers will go along with you. And to every young mind out there, yes, you might feel you were young, true. I do not intend to take that away from you, but it is imperative that you know that you won't remain young forever. So, the earlier you figure out who you are and what you want, the better. That would enable you help the world itself experience every bit of you. Well, and that's that on today's episode, my people. Do not forget to share this with teenagers, parents or guardians, and do not forget to react to the questions attached to this episode. Until I come your way again, I am your host, the Rich Scriber, signing out. Bye.